Hello and welcome to today's video. We're going to cover the T1 Top Esports series a bit and then preview tomorrow's series with GenG and FlyQuest at Worlds 2024. So, predictions, I had T1 winning this 3-1. A lot in part due to just that T1 wins these, right? You know, that like the phrase of they just win these, they do. They get out of quarters and get to semifinals all the time. They beat LPL teams. I believe somebody in the Discord did say today that T1 have never lost a best of 5 to an LPL team. So I didn't fact check it, but maybe that's true. Now they struggle against LCK teams, and that'll be something possibly to talk about next week, but neither here nor there. Top Esports just laid an absolute egg in this one. It was not necessarily T1 beating them, but Top Esports just I don't know what the deal was. I mean, some people joke that they were asleep. Honestly, it's very possible. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, a lot of people want to blame 369, his Galio game, his Rumble game, things like that. Not very good. He did have the second most damage on his team, actually. Just a smidge more than Cream. I think 466 to 465 DPM. You know, the Galio pick was something that I thought was pretty weird. He had never played Galio before in pro, so that was literally just hoping for the best, and it didn't pan out. And frankly, Galio top is still a very weird pick to me. It is better in mid, and we saw Faker utilize it to a higher degree. Of course, Faker more well versed on the champion. I mean, that's obvious as hell. So to see that is no surprise. I mean, some people, trying to compare Faker to others, Galios and things like that. Faker is more well-versed than a player like Knight in terms of facilitation. Knight's obviously a very harder carry in this point in his career, and that's why Knight is better than Faker at this point in their careers. But the fact is that Faker is probably going to do more work on a champion that's a little more facilitator, setup-based than Knight. So that was a weird comparison. But either way, T1 win this 3-0. Guma, 17-0-14, 38% of damage. I don't know if he's going to surpass Chovy and Pays and KDA. Next week could very well determine that. And if they have a 5-game series, those guys, there's a chance that Scout ends up winning pick'ems anyways. He's at 9.3 and out of the tournament. He played Caitlyn and then Zaya twice. Keria dominated 3-1-34. Bard, Rakan, and Pike were his 3 picks. How about that? That just goes to show you how great Keria is in terms of champion pool. Pulling out the Pike at Worlds and saying, hey, let's see what happens. And he looked nasty on it. Had some nice evades, if you will, trying to get away from the enemy using his stealth. Zeus had a really interesting moment as well in this one. He only died once with a 31 KDA as well. So he does deserve his flowers. Also, I mean, T1 just dominated in every way in this one. I may not talk about it very much just because the fact of the matter is, top really just didn't do shit. Jacula 483, 31% of damage in the loss. I think just under 550, DPM or something, not very much. He played Misfortune, Ezreal, Kaisa. I don't expect much out of the Misfortune. It's not a pick that I really enjoy watching. I don't think it's a very good pick. Ezreal, he got solo killed twice by Faker's Ari. Not to say he was completely 100 to 0. I'm pretty sure both of them were at the tail end of team fights, but I mean, it is what it is. It did happen. Cream trying, but they had a mission. T1 were like, we're getting the Aurora and the Yone out of here. They'd rather let Yone be banned and Zeus be unable to play it than to give it to Cream. That makes sense. Cream trying to play Silas and things like that, and leaving a little bit on the table. It was bad. Like, in terms of control, by the way, I'm not even talking about the control yet. T1 were ahead for 93% of the minutes played. That does not mean that this series wasn't closer in games 1 and 2. I mean, it's giving a 1090 and a 793 split. Well, no, 1090 and a 397 split. Like, T1 absolutely smoked. They smoked them. I think, technically, by gold lead and objectives controlled, Top Esports were ahead for 7 minutes total in this series, or at least 7 minute markers. Not great. I mean, not great. But they were close. In game one, I mean, it was within like 1,000 gold for quite a large portion of that game. But T1 were ahead. It's not like Top Esports were ahead in those moments. T1 were, in fact, ahead. And then in game two, they were ahead as well. Wasn't ahead by a ton, but were ahead. And then game three, I mean, that was, although it's a 892 split, which would indicate that it's slightly more competitive than game two, it really wasn't. I mean, it was like a 3,500 gold lead in the mid game. Like it was over quite sooner than it was in games one and two. I mean, to give a MVP, I think would be tough. I mean, you have to kind of give it to Guma because he didn't die and then he led in damage by. I mean, he had a significant amount of damage in this one. It was a carry performance. I usually criticize Guma for not being the carry, and in this one, he was. So that is that kind of. I mean, I could. Top Esports just didn't do enough to even make this worth really talking about. It was just they just ran them right over. I'm happy I'm freed from that January prediction and hell, even predicting it before this tournament, and now we can actually see who wins, as we have very good teams left, and then an imposter. So GenG and FlyQuest, they've never played against each other as organizations. FlyQuest is their second time at Worlds. And they didn't play GenG at MSI. So Inspired and Canyon played against each other 6 times. Quad and Chovy, of course, have played against each other 9 times in LCK play. So every time Inspired's went to Worlds, he's had to play Canyon. All 3 years with Rogue and then with EG, he would be put in a group with Damwon Kia, Damwon Gaming, Damwon Plus, whatever the hell they want to be called at the time. And Canyon was a jungler. So, Canyon 6-0. Very interesting picks when you look back at those games. The Fiddlesticks, which I do believe do not be shocked to see Fiddlesticks tomorrow. Apparently, it's decent right now. It's in a decent spot, and that is a weird pick that Inspired has played before internationally. We saw Canyon play a Talon game against Inspired at one point in these 6 games as well. Very weird picks by these guys. Which is fun to watch. So Canyon 5.5 KDA, Inspired 0.8. We see the damage share 17.4, 15.4. So, higher end of the damage share for a jungler when you look across many years for Canyon. Gold share very similar, so Canyon is giving more to his team in the damage department. Something significant in these 6 games on average, Canyon is ahead almost 900 gold. That includes 15 CS, 825 XP. Return on investment nearly deals 1 damage per gold, where Inspired it's actually below 3/4, 0.73. So, Inspired's definitely going to have to produce more than that. FlyQuest to succeed need the top side of the rift to come through big tomorrow. Chovy and Quad, former teammates on 2020 DRX. Technically, when Quad was making his LCK debut, Chovy was playing top lane. I believe it must have been due to somebody probably having COVID during that split, and Chovy role swapped to top so Quad could play mid in that series. And then after that, they played against each other 9 times in 2021, 2022, and 2023. So Chovy went 8-1, had an 8.9 KDA versus a 1 for Quad. In terms of damage share and gold share, though, very interesting. So Chovy, 26% of his team's damage, and he played with multiple teams in that span, HLE and GenG, and Quad played with DRX and Nongshim. But technically less damage share than gold share for Chovy in those ones. Think about Chovy, very high resource player, and in those matchups, he just wasn't dealing a lot of damage at only 1.18. Quad actually had a better ROI at 1.24 and gave more for his gold share. I mean, 25.6 relative to 21.1, of course, in a losing effort, but that still remains. In terms of diffies, Chovy gapped him about 1,000 gold, 965 to be nearly precise, 15 CS, 590 XP, and I believe both of these players had a solo kill in their 9 games. And then Canyon had 1 solo kill in the games against Inspired. So, I mean, that's all we really have in terms of these players crossing paths. Of course, Bwipo and Keen have been around the block a long time. That should be an interesting matchup. First time we're seeing it. These guys, I mean, I'm going to obviously favor Chovy, and I'm obviously going to favor Canyon, but Inspired's played well. In bot lane duo, I mean, excuse me, I mean, Masubusio have their work cut out for them. They do. Against Paisley Hens. That's going to be, I mean, this is going to be tough. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's going to be tough, and honestly, Masubusio just need to come away from this with learned experiences. Definitely learned experiences. And Quad, too. I mean, he's played against Chovy plenty of times, played alongside him, but he does need to also develop as well. So, NA got to top 8, they got to quarterfinals, and now they play what you could argue is the best team in the world. So this is going to be a test. Now, that's it for the video. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, like it. Subscribe to the channel for daily League of Legends content. Follow me on Twitter, join the Discord, become a YouTube supporter, and hope to see you again tomorrow.